All aboard for the transcribed premiere production, The Cruise of the Paul Parrot. This is a thrilling, exciting story of the sea, the vast, stormy sea, which will be a place of high adventure until the end of time. This adventurous story tells of the hardships and perils of whaling, the mystery of hunting for buried treasure, and the dangers of storms at sea and mutiny. Well, boys and girls, as you can see, The Cruise of the Paul Parrot will be packed with thrills from start to finish. Now, first of all, we want to introduce the principal characters you'll get to know in this new and exciting series. First, there's Captain Roy Dalton himself, master of the ship, and he's talking to his friend and first mate of the Paul Parrot, George Wainwright.
You can see for yourself that there's something afoot on this cruise. George Wainwright, I ask you as my friend, will you sign these first mate's papers?
Aye, it is then, Roy, mate. But if it weren't for you, Roy Dalton, I'd never sign. Now we'll find just what is behind it all.
And here are the two characters that you boys and girls will like best of all, the little boy and girl in our story. And do they have exciting adventures aboard the Paul Parrot? It's Johnny Robbins and little Sue Grange.
Gosh, Sue, what are we going to do? That man is going to try to kill the captain.
Well, Johnny, there's only one thing we can do. We've got to get up to the captain's cabin before he does. Come on, run.
Doesn't that sound like excitement? And here is the mysterious Spaniard who causes all the trouble aboard the Paul Parrot. He's talking to Ezra Grange, the owner of the Paul Parrot, the other man of mystery on the cruise.
Now, Senor Grange, be sensible. I know as much about this treasure as you do. Why not let us be partners instead of enemies?
Listen to me, you blackguard. I won't be a partner with you in any kind of venture. One of us is suddenly going to disappear from this ship, and it isn't going to be me.
Well, that sounds like more excitement. And last of all, here is old Dickon, the one-legged sailor, talking to his pet, the ship's mascot, after whom the ship has been named, Paul Parrot himself.
I tell you, Paul, there's going to be more trouble on this cruise than the time I lost this peg leg of mine. Yes, sir, I just feels it in me bones.
Ah! Sailor, beware! Sailor, take care! There's dirty work afoot! Ah!
There you are. You've met our principal characters. Now let's start on our yarn. Our story opens in the spring of 1858, in the New England town of New Bedford, the great center of the whaling industry. Roy Dalton, a true seaman and as brave a man as ever sailed the deep, has just received his master's papers. He is walking on one of the streets leading to the New Bedford waterfront when he runs into an old acquaintance.
Oh, it's a long cruise and a hard cruise and a cruise before the gate. Hold, I think that's... Ahoy, heave to, mate.
Well, blow me down, Roy Dalton. Say, I thought you were at sea. I thought you signed as first mate on the Minabelle out of Boston.
Avast, it's good to see you again, George. You're behind schedule a bit. The Minabelle laid up for repairs a month ago.
Will you be sailing with her again?
I will not, George. I've got my own future to look forward to. I've got my master's papers.
What? A full-fledged skipper? Great saints, Roy, you've done well. And next you'll be telling me you own a trim little clipper that's setting sail tonight.
Oh, that'll all come later. Right now, but look, this'll tell you what ship I'm sailing on. See this one-legged sailor coming down the dock with a parrot on his shoulder?
Yes, but what has that to do with...
Hi there, Dickon.
Aye, Captain Dalton. I'm just taking our bloomin' mascot for an errand, you might say. Greet the gentleman, Paul.
Ah! Avast there! Stand by to weigh anchor, you lubbers! A fine breeze has sprung up! Ah!
I'm afraid that ain't a very courteous manner of greeting a superior officer, sir. You know, I never could teach the swab any manners.
Oh, that's all right, Dickon. He's a smart bird at that.
Aye, sir.
But, Roy, that parrot, that's the mascot of the ship Paul Parrot.
Right you are, George. I'm signing on with Grange and Sons to man the Paul Parrot for them.
Grange and Sons? You're a skipper on a whaler?
Avast, man, you sound like that's a crime. What's wrong with being a skipper on a whaler?
But you've been a clean sailor all your life. You've never had anything to do with whaling. You know what a dirty trade it is. Why, most of the men in the crew are drawn from the worst that can be dragged up and cheated or shanghaied into shipping on a whaler. No man in his right mind ever sailed on a whaling ship yet, if he knew plainly what he was in for.
I'll grant you it is hard work to man a whaler. Yet the whales must be caught to keep all New England busy with the selling of their oil. And I, as captain, am to have the choosing of my own crew.
What difference do you find in that?
I'll pick up no dock rats and scum of the waterfront. I'll pick real seamen, everyone a true man.
On the salaries that whalers pay? Don't make me laugh, Roy.
But I'm paying them a fair salary. I'm to give my men $200 in advance, and an equal share in the profits after the owners and the chief officers get theirs.
$200 in advance? How much are you deducting from that for agents' fees and expenses? By the time that's all done, the poor wretches will be owing you $10 apiece.
That 200 is named after those fees have been deducted.
And are your hens getting 200 in advance, in truth?
The truth it is. And there's a nice bunk open for you as first mate.
The day that sees me a mate on a whaling ship will also see me go down to Davy Jones. I wouldn't go whaling for a king's ransom.
George Wainwright, you're making a great mistake. This isn't another dirty whaling cruise. As captain, I'll treat my men fair. And the good salaries will attract true seamen, and not the trash most whalers ship.
This doesn't sound to me like a whaling cruise at all. Yet this Grange outfit is an agency that goes in entirely for whale oil, I know.
They're a mighty fine company, George. One of the younger sons, Ezra, is even shipping with me, so he can learn the game from the inside, as he says.
So, one of the owners is shipping along. Mark my words, Roy. This is no ordinary cruise. And the ship is the Parrot, eh?
The Parrot it is, and a mighty trim and seaworthy three-master she is.
Aye, it's a very trim craft. Has she been all fitted for the voyage?
She sails in 3 days. And, George, the mate's bunk is still empty.
It can stay empty. But I doubt if whaling is all there is to this cruise. I think there's something back of it. Because think, mate...
I beg your pardon, senores. I did not see you when I bumped into you. I beg your pardon.
Who is that man? I've seen him before. And what made him run into me like that?
Why, look, he's got a paper in his hand.
Wait, I think... Heave to there. Stop, or I'll fire.
Oh, pardon, senor, but what is the cause of this, senor?
Give me that paper.
But, senor...
Give me that paper.
Si, senor, if I must...
Hand it over. Aha, just as I thought. My master's papers. He picked my pocket when he rammed into me broadside.
Stop him, Roy, stop him. Fire after him. He's running off.
I have no gun. I said I'd fire just to frighten him.
Now, why did he take those papers of yours? I told you there was something behind this whaling cruise.
Ah, George, you're getting to be an old woman with that I told you so of yours. But listen, you were always a good hand at a dangerous venture. Why not ship as my first mate and see if there's anything behind this cruise?
Roy, I would, if your ship weren't a whaler. But that runs my plans aground right there.
Oh, I say there, Captain Dalton.
Well, blow me down. It's Mr. Ezra Grange. Good morning, sir.
Captain, have you hired all the hands?
Not quite, sir. There's a few to be put on.
Well, you're doing your utmost to get the best now. Remember, spare no expense to get the best seamen and whalers you can.
I think you'll be highly satisfied with the crew, sir. The ones I have signed on are able hands, all.
Good, good. Well, Captain, the ship's just about fitted. We sail in 3 days sharp.
Aye, Mr. Grange. Everything will be ready and shipshape.
Very good, very good. My father will be pleased.
So, that's the owner's son who's shipping on your voyage to see the inside of the game.
Aye, mate, that's the man.
Listen, I know the Granges, and they're all as close-fisted as any New England ship owner could be. This young'un is no exception. They're too anxious to spend money on this trip to make it look like an ordinary one. Mate, there's mystery in the wind.
Ah, you were always one to have a weather eye for mystery when there wasn't any. But remember, that job of mate is still...
What was that?
Avast, someone shot at me. The bullet whizzed right by my ear.
Where did young Ezra Grange go to?
He's disappeared, just like the dark Spaniard who rammed me.
Look, there's somebody lurking behind that whale oil cask over there. Hard to port. I think the lubber's going to shoot again. Did he get you, mate?
Quick, duck behind these bloomin' casings. He just nicked my forearm, George. Nothing serious. Scarcely drew blood.
And neither of us with a gun, blow the luck.
Let's creep around these cases. Maybe we can surprise him from behind.
Aye, aye, matey. You lead.
Softly, softly now. Come on, follow.
I'm right on your heels.
Now behind that stack of sails. Run for it.
I don't think he saw us.
Now to those whale oil casks. Come on, George.
Made it. Now he's right around that one.
Ah, you dirty rat, we've got you now.
We'll let risk for that belaying pin. I'll teach him a thing or two.
Stow that shooting, you swat. Oh!
Avast, come here. Why, you stop or I'll throw this belaying pin. Missed him. He got away.
Oh, blast it all. He's a strong monkey. It's the same Spanish-looking fellow that tried to steal my papers a while ago.
Roy, you're not going to stay healthy if this sort of thing keeps up. We've got to get to the bottom of it. What you need is somebody to work with you.
You can see for yourself there's something afoot in this cruise, George Wainwright. I ask you as my friend, will you sign these first mate's papers?
Well, aye it is then, Roy, mate. But if it weren't for you, I'd never sign to be a mate on a smelly whaler.
Yes, I know. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't do this. If it weren't for the mystery on this cruise, you mean. But hurry on and sign up, you blasted landlubber, before somebody shoots off an ear of mine.
Boys and girls, this certainly does look exciting. A whaling cruise is always one of the most adventuresome and exciting things in the world anyway. And with unexpected shots coming any moment or attempted stealings of valuable papers by suspicious-looking men, it ought to be more than exciting. In the next of this thrilling series of adventures in the cruise of the Paul Parrot, we'll find out just who this dark-complexioned stranger is. And we'll also meet one of the characters you'll like best of all, Little Sue Grange, who is really going to get mixed up in this thrilling story. Be sure not to miss even one of these exciting adventures on the cruise of the Paul Parrot. Your Paul Parrot announcer is Dave Ward.
Paul Parrot shoes speak for themselves. Ship ahoy, you lubbers!
All aboard for the transcribed premiere production, The Cruise of the Paul Parrot. Here is the second adventure in this thrilling, exciting story of the sea, which tells of the adventurous days of whaling, when mutiny and storms at sea and buried treasure were very real adventures that might have a place in the life of any seaman. Boys and girls, we know you'll enjoy this thrilling series from start to finish. It is in the spring of 1858 in New Bedford, the center of the whaling industry, that our story opened. Captain Roy Dalton and his good friend, First Mate George Wainwright, are to command the good ship Paul Parrot on a whaling cruise. But there is a good deal of mystery about the whole business. First, one of the owners goes along. Second, a mysterious Spaniard attacked Dalton on the docks in our first adventure. He tried to pick the captain's pocket of his papers. When that failed, he shot at the two men, and after a short but furious fight, managed to escape. As our story opens, it is the next day, and Captain Dalton and First Mate Wainwright are on their way to the shipkeeper's office at the docks of the company which owns their ship, Grange and Company.
We've got to find out who that Spaniard is, Roy.
Aye, George. There's plenty of mystery connected with this cruise already. And we may as well find out how the wind blows as soon as we can.
Well, if any man knows who that Spaniard swab is, it'll be old man Breckenridge, the shipkeeper for Grange and Sons. He's worked on the docks here for almost 40 years, and he knows every seaman and landlubber who's ever been in New Bedford.
That swab was after something important, George. You can lay to that. When he failed to pick my pocket, he tried to shoot me. There's some information he wants from me, or from my papers, but I'll be blowed if I know what it is.
Here's the shipkeeper's office right ahead of us. While we're a port here, I'm going to try to see if I can get any information from the old man about what's behind this cruise. The owner doesn't go along on every whaling voyage, and there's seldom a whaler that ships as fine a crew as this one.
Ahoy there, Mr. Breckenridge.
Well, avast, you old sea dogs. Come in, Captain Dalton. Glad to see you, Mr. Wainwright.
Oh, is this Captain Dalton?
Well, there's a lady present. Did I hear you mention my name, miss?
Yes. Sue, this is the captain. Captain Dalton, this is Miss Suzanne Grange, the sister of Ezra Grange, the young owner who's going to sail with you on your cruise.
Not Suzanne. I want to be called Sue.
Sue it shall be then, ma'am.
And Sue, this is Captain Dalton, who's to command your brother's ship, the Paul Parrot, and his first mate, Mr. Wainwright.
Hello,
Miss Sue.
How to do, miss?
Ship ahoy, there's breakers ahead.
Hard a port. Where'd that come from?
Look, it's our ship's mascot, Paul Parrot himself, over there in the corner.
And there's old Dickon himself. Avast there, Dickon. I didn't see you and your bloomin' bird when we sailed in here.
Aye, sir. I just brought Paul Parrot in to amuse little Miss Grange and tell her some stories about whaling. She seems to be interested in whaling, sir.
Oh, I am. I've always wanted to go along on a whaling cruise someday.
I suppose that's natural, Miss Sue. After all, your father and your brothers have been in the whale oil business so long, you must be anxious to see how it's done.
Old Dickon has been telling us some of his tall yarns about his days of whaling, Captain.
But, Miss Sue, a whaler's no place for a young lady, or for any young person for that matter. It's a long, hard grind carrying a cargo of heavy work and many dangers. And there's little money waiting at port in the end.
Oh, but I just want all that excitement. I wouldn't mind the work or the danger.
Sue is what you might call a tomboy, I'm afraid.
But the dangers are very great ones, if I may put in me arm, Miss Sue. It wasn't whaling, you know. I lost my leg.
Oh, tell me about it, Dickon.
Maybe you'd best not, Dickon. A fight with a whale is a fearful thing to hear tell of.
Oh, but I want to hear about it.
Well, with the captain's permission, I'll say it in just a few words. I was first harpooner on a ship over 30 years ago come next month. We sighted a whale, and at the call from the masthead, "There she blows," we lowered 2 boats. Well, the second mate's boat landed a harpoon in the critter, and then he turned right on us. He was a big humpback whale, one of the biggest I ever seen. And to see him raising up right over our heads was like seeing the end of the world. Well, he died right next to our boats, and the sea foamed around like a whirlpool, with our boats bobbing around like little tops. And then he came up on the other side, and he brought his big flukes down right on top of us.
Gee, what happened?
Well, Miss Sue, the boat was just kindling wood after that. Most of the men were hurt or knocked out. But since the whale didn't come up anymore, the second mate's boat managed to pick all of us up. But me leg was lost in that smash. And you know, I got a feeling that someday I'll meet that whale again. I'd know him if I seen him. I know I would. And the next time, it'll be either him or me.
Oh, that was terrible, Dickon. Oh, I feel so sorry for you.
Oh, blow me down, Miss Sue. It ain't nothing. I get along with me peg leg as well as many a swab who calls himself able-bodied seaman.
There she blows. There she blows off the starboard bow.
You can tell that Parrot's an old whaler. But, Sue, do you see how much danger would be tied up in a cruise of that sort?
I don't care. I like thrills and adventure. I want to go on a voyage like that someday. I don't see why Brother Ezra can't take me along.
Miss Sue, you've got the Grange whaling spirit. I can see that. But take it from a seaman. A whaler is no place for so charming a young lady as yourself.
Oh, Captain Dalton, there's always some excuse. Ezra says I could never go on a whaler because I'm too young. Mr. Breckenridge says that no woman could go whaling. And now you too. Oh, I wish I were a boy.
Begging your pardon, Captain, but I must be hoisting anchor. Ooh, I got a few ports of call to make today. Old shipmates to say goodbye to and the like. You'll excuse me, sir?
Go ahead, Dickon. Remember, we sail tomorrow morning. Be sure to bring our ship's mascot aboard in good trim.
Aye, sir, I will. You may later that, sir. Good day to you then, gentlemen, and Miss Sue. Good day.
Good day, Dickon. I hope you catch a whale on this cruise.
Good day.
Goodbye, Dickon.
He's an odd character, this Dickon.
But one of the best hands. I lay you to that.
Aye, Captain, that's granted. You know, I wish you wouldn't have told so many of those wild stories to Sue here. She gets too excited about something she can never do. You all know as well as I that no Grange ever let any of his women go on a whaling cruise.
Oh, but his stories don't make me any more excited than I was before. I've always wanted to go on a whaler, and someday, no matter what Father or Brother Ezra say, I'm going.
I'm not trying to change the subject, Mr. Breckenridge, but there's something we'd like to ask you, knowing that you know everybody who's ever been around these docks.
What is it, Mr. Wainwright?
Maybe you'd better explain, Captain.
Well, Mr. Breckenridge, yesterday on the docks, a dark Spanish-looking swab rammed into me broadside while we were just gapping away. Then I found he'd stolen my master's papers. We came down on him and got them back, but he scuttled off under full sail. And not many minutes later, he shot at us from behind a stack of oil casks.
He shot at you?
Aye, but his aim was poor, and we crept up on him and finally grappled with him. But the lubber's a strong monkey, and he managed to break away again. And a few minutes later, there was another shot at us. Whoever he is, he's dead set on getting something from us. What? I don't know.
How exciting.
I suppose you want to know if I know him. Is that it?
That's it, Mr. Breckenridge.
We judge that you knew more seamen than any other landsman in New Bedford.
Well, now let me be sure of this. You say he was a Spaniard?
Aye, very dark and short and wiry, strong and speedy.
And his eyes were small and black and sharp as 2 dirks.
And his hair long in the back? Small mustachio?
That's the man. That's the man.
Do you know him?
I do. That's Al Testi, one of the shipping agents for De Silva and Company.
De Silva and Company? Blow me down. That's the whaling outfit right down the docks, isn't it?
That's right.
What could De Silva and Company have to do with this business? They've always been very friendly to Grange and Sons.
From the looks of this man, Al Testi, I'd say this was some plot of his own. I never did like his looks.
Well, now that I know who he is, I'm going to track him down. There's a reason behind all this, and I'm going to find out what it is.
Can you tell us where we can find him in New Bedford, Mr. Breckenridge? Where's his anchorage here?
Yes, I think I can. He's putting up on Gloucester Street, 2 squares up from the docks. Just what house it is, I don't know. But you'll find him out if you go up there and inquire.
There's another thing I don't like the looks of. After that last shot yesterday, we heard old Dixon's wooden leg stomping along the docks in the direction of the shot. I wonder if he could have anything to do with this business.
I hardly think so. Dickon's a funny old swab, but I never had any reason to believe that he's anything but loyal to his masters.
Well, that'll all straighten itself out if we get to Saltesty. We'll find out everything if we get him under our thumb and make him talk.
Why, this is all just like a storybook. Oh, I wish I could go with you. Just think of all the mystery you've had already, and your cruise hasn't even started.
Did you ever hear of such a tomboy? Instead of being frightened by all these things, it only makes Sue want to go along all the more.
Of course it does. All my life I've wanted excitement, and all I've been able to do is go to school and hear yarns of whaling and never do anything about it.
Why, Miss Sue, you talk as if you've lived a long, long time and always been disappointed. You're just a little girl. When you get older, you'll be even prettier than you are now, and you'll find plenty of things in life to make it worth living without having to go sailing on a dirty, smelly old whaler.
Well, no matter what you say, Captain, and whether Brother Ezra likes it or not, I'm going to sail on a whaler sooner or later. Now, you just see if I don't.
This looks bad, gentlemen. You know, when a woman makes up her mind about anything, she usually gets it.
Well, let's get back to what we were talking of. This Altesty. Do you have any idea, Mr. Breckenridge, of what he might be wanting, that he's given us all this rough sailing?
No, I don't know the man at all, except by sight. Oh, no, wait a minute. You know, Al Testy has just been employed by the Silver and Company as a dock agent for a month or so. And the first time I saw him, I couldn't help thinking that I'd seen him somewhere before.
You've seen him before? Where?
That's the trouble. I can't remember. It seems like several years ago. There's something about him I ought to remember, but I'm blowed if I can think of what it is.
You're sure you can't remember?
It was in New Bedford. I know that, but just what he was doing, I can't think. Oh, well, never mind. It'll come to me. I'll let you know when I think of it.
Well, Mr. Wainwright, it's growing late. Let's be off on our way up Gloucester Street to look for the lubber. Maybe we'll be able to find out from the Spaniard himself what Mr. Breckenridge is trying to remember.
Well, gentlemen, I wish you luck.
Look in the window.
Where? Blow me down. It's him.
I wish you luck too, senores.
It's Altesty himself, and he's heard everything we said.
Fast, don't stand there as if you're anchored. After him. This time we'll not let him get away.
Now I know I must go along on that cruise.
And now what? Will Captain Dalton and Mr. Wainwright catch the Spaniard? If they don't, he'll know all their plans, and then what will they do? And how about little Sue? Will she really make good her promise to go along on the whaling cruise? Be sure to listen in to the next in this thrilling series of adventures of the cruise of the Paul Parrot. In the next adventure, you will meet another interesting character, the little boy in our story, Johnny Robbins. And we know you'll like him. Your Paul Parrot announcer is Dave Ward.
Paul Parrot shoes speak for themselves. Ship ahoy, you lubbers!
All aboard for the transcribed premiere production, The Cruise of the Paul Parrot, that thrilling, exciting story of the sea. To refresh your memory with what has happened before, Captain Roy Dalton, who has just received his master's papers, and his good friend George Wainwright, have signed on as skipper and first mate of the whaling ship Paul Parrot, owned by Grange and Sons, an outstanding shipping company of New Bedford, Massachusetts. The ship sails in one day, but in the last couple of days, Dalton and Wainwright have been followed by a mysterious Spaniard named Altesty, an agent for another shipping concern down the wharf a bit. They discovered him yesterday spying on them as they were talking to old man Breckenridge, shipkeeper for Grange and Sons, and Sue, sister of Ezra Grange, one of the ship's owners. At the present time, Dalton and his first mate are searching through the town of New Bedford for Altesty's house.
Roy, mate, I hope we're on the right trail.
Blow me down, George. If we're not, I'll try new trails until I find him. He's up to some devilishness, or he wouldn't have followed us yesterday when we were talking to shipkeeper Breckenridge.
Well, if we don't lay hands on him soon, there's no telling when he'll be lurking around some dark corner, shooting at you like he did on the wharf.
The swab. If I didn't know that the De Silva Company were fair friends of the Granges, I'd think that he was just operating as their agent to hinder our whaling voyage. But the two companies have always been on pretty good terms, so he must be under his own sail when he sneaks around and spies on us.
Well, I don't know, matey. I've been telling you that I sent more than a whaling cruise on this ship, haven't I? What with young Ezra Grange, one of the owners, shipping along, and what with a good class of seamen signed on, and the good shares in the voyage they're getting, there might easy be some other reason than whaling that might give plenty chance for some lubber to be spying on us.
Oh, stow that, George. You're too bloomin' suspicious. Anyhow, we'll find out what Altesti's reasons were when we get him hooked.
You're sure you know where he hangs out?
Aye, don't you recall Breckenridge at Gloucester Street?
Avast, this is Gloucester Street, and it's a few squares up the wharf, just as he said.
Let's do some asking at these houses here.
Aye, aye, Roy. You try that big house while I ask at the tavern across the way. They may know of him there.
Be careful now, George. If there's any trouble, call me. What in the...
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you here, mister.
Well, Sonny, that's all right. I'll wager you got the worst of that collision. When a big hulk like me sails into a little dory like you, you're apt to be swamped. It's lucky I didn't knock you down, son.
Gee. Say, are you a captain? Your cap and all looks like you are. Are you really a sea captain?
Why, sure, I'm a captain, son. There's nothing strange about that, is there? In a port so full with captains and seamen of every one of the 7 seas as New Bedford.
Well, I've seen captains before, but I've never talked to one.
Well, I don't know that it's such an honor to talk to a captain. But you must be a stranger to the port of New Bedford if you've never gammed with a skipper.
Yes, sir, I am. I just came here today.
I see. Then you wouldn't know what I was about to ask you.
Well, gee, I might. What was it, sir?
I was about to ask if you knew anything of a certain man my mate and I were looking for.
Well, I've been on the street all day, Captain. I might know him.
Where do you live, son? Where's your folks' house?
Well, Oh, please, Mr. Captain. I don't know where I'm going to live.
You don't know? Blow me down, lad. Are you lost?
No, sir. But you see, my folks live on a farm about 50 miles west of here.
Then what are you doing in New Bedford without your folks? Have you... Blow me down. I'll wager you've run away from home. Have you? Answer me, lad. Have you run away from home?
Yes, sir.
Lad, you shouldn't have done that. Think how your folks at home will be worried for you. And this is a hard port, lad. There are many rough seamen here, and it's no place for a boy who knows nothing of the life of the sea and has never been away from his parents.
Oh, but Mr. Captain, I've always wanted to go to sea.
This is no way to go about it. Why didn't you ask your father for permission? He would have let you when you were older, I'll wager.
No, he wouldn't. He said he'd never let me ship on any kind of a craft.
Then he knew best. You should have obeyed him.
But Father was a seaman himself a long time ago, and he always told such wonderful yarns about the sea that I've always wanted to follow his life.
Aye, lad, but the sea is a hard master. I wouldn't advise you to follow it. There's lots of danger and little pay, and you're lucky if you come out the winner in the end. Now you take my advice and weigh anchor for home.
Oh, gee.
What's your name, son?
Jonathan Obadiah Robbins, sir.
Well, say, that's a mighty big name to stow on so small a craft.
They usually call me Johnny, sir.
Johnny, eh? Well, I think that's better. Listen, Johnny, you take Captain Dalton's advice and go home to your folks. Why, your poor mother's probably crying her eyes out now, wondering where you are.
I left a note.
Well, that makes little difference. I give you my word, Johnny, you'll be happier if you go home again, and maybe take to the sea later in life. And Captain Dalton's word is sacred to him, so you can depend on what I say.
Did you say you were Captain Dalton, sir?
Yes, Johnny, that's the name.
Well, just a little while ago, I heard 2 men talking about you right here.
What's that? You heard someone mention my name?
Yes, sir. There were 2 men right in front of this house, and one of them said something about Captain Dalton being away from the ship, and that this was a good time to do it, whatever they were talking about.
Blow me down. I'm lucky that I ran into you, Johnny. What do these men look like?
Well, I was sitting on that step over there, and one man, the one with a peg leg, I mean.
Peg leg?
Yes, sir.
I wonder... And the other, what did he look like?
The other one was real dark, and he had a mustache.
That was Altesti. I'll stake my share on it. What did they do then?
They seemed to be arguing. Then the dark man went down toward the wharf, and the other one hobbled up the street.
There's no time to be lost. Ahoy, George! Wainwright! Ahoy!
Avast! I'll be right over.
Captain Dalton, can I go down to the waterfront with you?
Johnny, this is likely to be a dangerous business. You'd better stay here.
Oh, but Captain, I helped you trace the man. Listen, I'll go back home if you let me come along.
Well, aye, it is then, lad. But keep out of the way if there's any fighting to be done.
Here I am, mate. What news? I've had no luck at all.
George, this is Johnny Robbins. He's put us on the track of that landlubber Altesti. Johnny, this is Mr. Wainwright, my first officer.
Hello, lad.
I'm glad to know you, Mr. Wainwright.
What's this about picking up Altesti's track, Captain?
Johnny here has seen and heard two men talking about me. And from his description, one must be Altesti, and the other...
Which way did they head off?
Towards the wharf. That was some time ago.
Batten down the hatch. There's no time to lose. Let's run for it. Avast. They've let the Paul Parrot slip down the harbor today. She's riding at anchor about a mile down from the wharf.
Aye. We were to go down in boats and board her tomorrow morning.
That's right, mate. This would be a fine time for some lubber to board her.
The docks are just ahead, aren't they, Captain Dalton?
Aye, aye, son.
I think I heard a boat. Oarlocks.
I believe you're right. It's the Grange docks.
Somebody setting out in one of our dories, I'll wager.
Look over there.
There he is. He's getting into the dory. We only have to run across the wharf. Hurry. Come back to the wharf, or we'll shoot.
Make one move for a gun and we'll fire. We're 2-1.
Come on out of that boat.
All right, don't get excited, senores. I come.
That's the swab, all right.
We thought it would be you, Altisti. What's your intention in making off with one of Grange's dories?
I did not think Senor Grange would mind if I borrowed the boat to cruise up and down the wharf a moment.
Captain, that's the man I heard talking about you, all right.
Aye, I thought it would be. Altisti, we've been looking for you.
And here you are, just about to board our ship.
You honor me, senores, by looking for me. But I know nothing about boarding your ship.
We want to know why you've been steering so close to our course the past few days. You followed us in everything we did, and used a gun on me, if you care to recollect.
And we think this is a good time for explanation.
With pleasure, I will. One moment. The little boy. Do I not know him? Why, he's... Let me see.
Hey, stop! Help!
Now, Captain, use your guns if you will. I have the boy in
go.
front of me. And if you shoot, you kill him. I will back up across the wharf. And if you shoot as I go, the boy will be hit.
Let me go. Ouch! You're hurting my arm.
You Bill scum. When you let that boy go, we'll shoot. You might as well give up now.
Maybe I won't let go. See, I have a gun, too. I hold it over the boy's shoulder. If you follow me, I shoot you. If you shoot back, you kill the boy. Adios, amigos míos.
If we follow him, he'll shoot.
And here we are in the open with no casks or rigging to hide behind. Wait till he ducks behind those crates. Then we'll follow.
There, he's behind the wharf office.
We'll drop on our stomachs and crawl after him.
Look out, there's his hand. Around the building. He's going to shoot.
Mr. Breckenridge, listen. What's that?
Aye, Sue. There's trouble brewing. Those were pistol shots.
Oh, look out the window. Who's that running this way?
That's that Altesti fellow, and he's dragging a young lad with him.
Help! Help!
Oh, Mr. Breckenridge, help
That
him.
I'll do.
Come on, hurry.
Now, which way did they go?
They've disappeared.
Disappeared? Where in the world could Altesti have taken Johnny? What's going to happen? Will Johnny get away from the Spaniard? Will Captain Dalton catch him? What has Dickon, the peg-leg sailor, to do with all this? Be sure not to miss even one of these exciting adventures on the cruise of the Paul Parrot. Your Paul Parrot announcer is Dave Ward.
Paul Parrot shoes speak for themselves. Ship ahoy, you lubbers!
All aboard for the cruise of the Paul Parrot, that thrilling, exciting story of the sea. If you remember, when last we heard of Captain Dalton and his first mate, Wainwright, they were powerless to capture Altesti the Spaniard, who, for some mysterious reason, has been dogging their heels. For Altesti, grabbing hold of Johnny and using him for a shield, evaded them. Shots were fired, and Sue and Breckenridge, hearing the commotion, ran outside the dock office of Grange & Sons, but too late. Altesti, dragging Johnny behind him, disappeared into thin air. But who is that hiding behind those casks? Why, it's Altesti himself, and he still has Johnny prisoner.
Let me go, I tell you. Let me go. You're hurting me.
Hold your tongue, amigo. I've given that swine Dalton the slip, and if you make one sound, I will... Oh, you try to keep me, will you?
I'll do more than that, you. Ouch! Ow.
Now, will you behave yourself? Good. Then follow me. No, I will follow you. Just keep moving till you come to that big cask. Come back here. Come back here. You would try to run away, huh? I will have to teach you manners, huh?
Stop! You're choking me.
Now, push that cask aside. Push it, I say. Good, good. Now I will raise this trapdoor in the dock planking, so. Now, down you go. I will follow. Here we are on the big timbers underneath the dock. Pancho! Where are you, Pancho?
I am here, senor.
Good. It is so dark down here I couldn't see you.
Si, senor.
The crew of the Pearl Parrot have not boarded her as yet, so I think we will be able to carry out our plans. Did you secure a boat, Pancho?
Si, senor. I have it tied away down at the other end of the wharf.
Good. Then let us be moving. I've had some trouble with this boy, so if he makes an outcry, Pancho, you know what to do.
Si, senor. Here is the trapdoor.
You first, Pancho. We will keep this boy between us. I will follow in the rear. If you shout, you will be sorry. Pancho.
Si, senor. Just follow me. Be careful. I see some of the shipkeepers close by.
Don't worry, my friend. It is too dark for them to see us. Make haste.
Si, senor. We go very quietly. The boat is close by.
Remember, boy, if you value your life, not a sound.
You'll pay for this if I ever see Captain Dalton again.
Here is the boat, senor.
Good. Climb in. You first, Pancho, then the boy. Now, take hold of the oars, boy. You seem stout enough, and to keep you out of mischief, I will let you row us to the Pearl Parrot.
I hope this boat springs a leak and drowns us all.
You do, eh? Here, Pancho, take the oars from the boy. I wish to have a talk with him.
Si, senor.
Now, you are Captain Dalton's cabin boy, are you not? You may as well answer because I know you are. And as such, you will be able to help me carry out my plan.
Well, I tell you, today is the first time I ever saw Captain Dalton.
So I will show you what I do to boys who lie.
Careful, senor. You will upset the boat.
You're right, Pancho. We will attend to this boy after we have done with our business. I think we will be able to carry out our plans after all. I will show this pig Dalton how to act before I am through with him.
Si, senor. You are a very smart man. This Captain Dalton, he is no match for you.
You are right, Pancho. Tonight, we board the Pearl Parrot. We find what we are looking for. While this Yankee captain and his crew are hunting for me in New Bedford, I will be aboard the ship.
Blow me down, George. He's given us the slip sure enough this time.
Right you are, matey. A slick one if ever I saw one.
Worst of all, he has that lad, Johnny. I feel responsible for him. If it wasn't for me, the lad wouldn't be in such a predicament.
The boy will be all right. As soon as he was a safe distance away, the Spanish swab most likely let him go.
I'm afraid not. The boy would have shown up by this time.
The lad most likely is halfway back home by now, with enough of the sea life for a while.
I hope so. Here we are at the dock office. Mr. Grange will be waiting for us. We've got to get aboard the Pearl Parrot tonight. Mr. Grange has given orders to sail tomorrow early, and there's no disappointing the owners in spite of anything.
There you are, Dalton. What luck, any?
Not a bit, Mr. Grange. He gave us the slip completely.
And that poor boy, what about him?
Now, don't worry, Suzanne. That boy will take care of himself. I'll test him, most likely set him free when he was out of sight and in danger of being captured.
I hope so, but I can't help but...
I hope so, too. Oh, if I could lay my hands on that...
Now, that's enough, Sue. That's enough. There'll be no more talk of the boy. Besides, we have a lot to do to prepare before we get on board the Pearl Parrot.
But, Ezra, why can't I go with you on the boat?
Now, Sue, we've argued about that many times before. You are not going with us, and that is final.
Ezra Grange, just because you're my brother and much older, don't think you can bully me. I've made up my mind that I'm going to sea on a whaler. And if I don't go on the Pearl Parrot, I'll go on another one. See if I don't.
Well, she certainly is a headstrong youngster, that one.
Unfortunately, yes, Mr. Wainwright. Takes after all the rest of the Granges. We're all that way. What we want, we get, eventually.
Well, Mr. Grange, we're ready, if you are.
No, I'm all set. Breckenridge is aboard as well as Dickon to see that all the crew is on.
I wonder what that Spaniard was trying to do. I'll bet he's somewhere right now, plotting how to get back at us.
Ease up on those oars, Pancho.
Si, senor.
Now, let's climb aboard very softly. If we are quiet, the blockhead standing night watch will never see us.
We have nothing to fear, senor. There is no one aboard, and the crew will not be here until tomorrow.
Get aboard then. Look sharp. Pancho, you first. The boy and I will follow. Careful now. I'll make the boat fast. Up the ladder with you, boy. Remember to remain very quiet.
I hope the whole crew is aboard when we get on deck.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, my friend, but you will not get your hope.
There is no one about, senor.
That dog of a night watch is no doubt fast asleep somewhere. But there must be someone aboard, so let us proceed with caution. Now, boy, as cabin boy of this ship, I want you to tell where the captain's cabin is.
I don't know where it is. And if I did know, I wouldn't tell you.
There is no use of us quarreling. Now be a good little boy. Tell me, where is the captain's cabin?
I'm telling the truth. I don't know.
And I'm warning you that I am not to be trifled with. I'm here to find something, and I will not leave the ship until I get it. How long have you been cabin boy?
I've never been a cabin boy.
Then perhaps you can tell me how long you have been on this ship.
This is the first time I've ever been aboard.
I'm giving you fair warning, boy, so you better answer my questions. Where is Mr. Grange's cabin?
I don't know.
Then maybe Mr. Grange is bunking in the captain's cabin, huh?
You seem to know so much. You ought to know where Mr. Grange's cabin is.
Senor, maybe you would like for me to take one of these casks, put the boy in it, and then throw it overboard so that the shark could have something to eat. Senor?
You have heard what Pancho said. Now will you tell me where Mr. Grange's cabin is, or must we throw you to the sharks?
Well, I didn't do anything. Honestly, I didn't. I don't want you to throw me overboard.
Then, as cabin boy of this ship, will you tell me where Mr. Grange's cabin is located?
But I've already told you I don't know.
Then perhaps this will help to freshen your memory.
This will help to freshen yours.
You will kick me, huh?
I tell you I'm not the cabin boy, and I don't know where Mr. Grange's cabin is.
Pancho, this boy is a stubborn one.
Like an ox, senor.
And here is what we do to the oxen. Head him off, Pancho. Don't let him get away.
Fear not, senor. I have him.
So you will try to escape, eh? Here, Pancho, we have no time to lose. We will attend to the boy later. There, in that box, I see a rope. Secure it, and we will make certain this boy will not get away.
Si, senor. Here is the rope, senor.
Good. Now, I will bind his arms behind him. Grab the other end of the rope, Pancho. Tie his legs.
Si, senor.
There. Around this way. There. He's bound securely. Now, that oil cask, it is empty. Put the boy in it and close the lid.
You just wait till Captain Dalton hears of this.
Bind his mouth with the bandana, Pancho. Do not worry, my stubborn one. Your captain friend will never hear of this. There. Good, he's in the cask. Now, place on the lid.
Si, senor.
Come along, Pancho. We have no more time to lose. We will tend to the boy later. But now we will go below and see if we can locate Grange's cabin. There is the hatch. Come, Pancho.
Si, senor.
There is a door. I think I remember that.
Oh, who's that?
Shiver me timbers. There's dirty work afoot.
Senor, hurry, they will find us.
Shh. Pancho, quiet.
Blow me down, Mr. Jowett. I'm a seafaring lover if I didn't hear voices.
I did too, Dickon. Let's go aft and investigate. She blows.
That's right, Mr. Jowett. I just saw two figures dart around the corner.
After them, Dickon. Stop, whoever you are.
Stop or I'll shoot, you sneaking lubbers. Well, blow me down.
Another peg leg. I'll teach him.
Well, thank goodness the mystery of the peg leg is cleared up. It wasn't Dickon after all that Johnny saw talking to Altesti. It was Pancho. But then, after all, there are lots of peg leg sailors. Will Dickon and Mr. Jowett capture Altesti and Pancho, or will they escape once more in their boat? What can Altesti be looking for? And what did he remember when he saw the cabin door? At least Johnny, although tied and gagged in the whale oil cask, is safe for the time being. Be sure to listen for the further adventures of the cruise of the Paul Parrot. Your Paul Parrot announcer is Dave Ward.
Paul Parrot chews speak for themselves. Jim ahoy, you lubbers!
All aboard for the transcribed premiere production, The Cruise of the Paul Parrot. That thrilling adventure story of whaling days when small craft roamed the mighty sea capturing monsters of the deep. Captain Dalton and his first mate, George Wainwright, of the good ship Paul Parrot, have been attempting to track down a Spaniard named Altesti, who has been causing them all sorts of trouble. They met a young boy named Johnny Robbins who had just run away from home to go to sea. Altesti, believing Johnny to be Dalton's cabin boy, captured him, and under cover of night rode to the Paul Parrot. After binding Johnny and hiding him in a whale oil cask on the ship, Altesti and his henchman Pancho were discovered by second mate Jowett and Dickon, the peg-leg sailor. Shots were exchanged, but Altesti once more evaded his pursuers. It is now morning, and we find Captain Dalton, Wainwright, Mr. Grange, and the crew aboard the Paul Parrot, preparing to weigh anchor.
Blow me down, George. I'll never forgive myself for letting that boy fall into the hands of that swab, Altesti.
Avast, Roy. There's no cause to feel that way. It was no fault of yours.
But I like that lad. He was a bright boy. You can lay to that. Here he helped us find Altesti, and we bungled our trick and let the Spaniard get away and lay hands on the lad as well.
Ah, mate, this Altesti is a fast bloke. One moment we had him at the muzzle of our pistols. The next moment, before I could think, he'd grabbed the lad and held him in front of him. We couldn't shoot then, or he'd have hit the boy.
Who was he anyway? A cabin boy from one of the ships?
No, Mr. Grange. He was a lad who just run away from home. His parents lived somewhere upstate.
Just a wharf waif, eh? Well, why didn't you shoot anyway? This man Altesti seems to be dangerous to have at large.
What? Shoot the boy to get the Spaniard?
What difference would it have made? He's probably just some gutter puppy whom no one would miss. His life would be worth little.
Mr. Grange, you amaze me. I wouldn't have shot the boy if my own safety depended on it.
You're too tender-hearted, Captain. Well, no matter, though. The sea will harden you. You're still young in this business. But we'll soon be far out to sea, and since there's no chance of this scoundrel boarding us now, we may as well forget it. I can't imagine what his purpose was in heckling you. He couldn't have been authorized by his firm. We've always been on very good terms with De Silva and Company.
Mr. Grange, I may sail the seas until I'm as old as the Rock of Gibraltar. But I hope I'll never forget to have consideration for my fellow man.
Very pretty sentiment, Captain Dalton, but let's forget the incident.
Very well, sir. There's a spanking offshore breeze springing up that should send us out of harbor in no time. We'll have the men spread full canvas as soon as Mr. Jowett, the second mate, comes up. Then we'll set sail.
There's one thing we can be thankful for, sir. We've no greenies on this cruise. All old hands. We'll waste no time in leaving shore behind us.
Aye. You can thank Grange and Sons for that. They've allowed us to get a crew that'd be a credit to any merchant band, let alone a whaler.
Hello there, Captain Dalton. Oh, Mr. Grange, Mr. Wainwright. Well, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Breckenridge. Well, Mr. Grange, now that Mr. Breckenridge is here, as soon as he leaves for shore, we'll be ready to sheet the sails home for the voyage.
That's fine, Captain Dalton. I see everything has been very well prepared aboard.
You can thank our shipkeeper, Mr. Breckenridge, for that, sir. He's helped me a great deal in getting this craft shipshape.
Oh, Captain Dalton, you flatter me. You know, gentlemen, this is really a fine day for a voyage. This offshore breeze will put you out of sight of land in sight of half an hour.
Yes, that's something to be thankful for.
Oh, by the way, I've been wanting to ask you, did you find anything more of this man Altesti?
Well, to tell the truth, Mr. Breckenridge, Mr. Wainwright and I traced him to the docks, but he got away.
Well, if you'll pardon me for suggesting it, about this man Altesti, I mean, I've been thinking about him a great deal. It's come to me where I've seen him before. I remember very plainly about 2 years ago.
Blow me down. Someone's bounced a belaying pin off the back of his head.
Where did that come from? He was right in the middle of a sentence.
He's unconscious. Here, Wainwright. Run, get some water and a bandage. We'll send him back to the dock immediately.
Aye, sir. I'll be right back.
I can't imagine where that could have been dropped from, Captain.
It didn't drop, Mr. Grange. That belaying pin was thrown.
But all the crew were down in the forecastle. Who could have thrown it?
Someone who'd been listening to our conversation. You can lay to that. When he started to tell me something about Altesti, he was struck.
But who on earth would know whom he was talking about?
There's no telling.
Here, Captain, is the water and the bandage.
I'll bathe his temples. Avast, that was a mean crack he got athwart his crown.
He's coming too, sir.
Oh, I thought, where am I? Oh, yes, I remember. Who struck me down?
We don't know, Mr. Breckenridge. Are you in much pain?
Somewhat, yes. You'd better get me back to the docks.
Mr. Jowett. Here, help Mr. Breckenridge down to the catboat and tell the oarsmen to get him back to harbor as fast as they can. He's hurt.
Aye, sir. Let me help you, sir.
We've got to take advantage of this wind, Mr. Wainwright. We're about to sail. Summon all hands.
Aye, sir. All hands on deck.
Stand by to weigh anchor and sheet home sails.
Aye, sir. Line up here, all hands. Ready for sailing.
Men, I want to speak to you all later. I have something to say that may help us get along better. But right now, we're put to it to work swiftly and take advantage of this wind. Strain your utmost. Take charge, Mr. Wainwright.
Ahoy, men! Get ready to weigh anchor. You four, aloft to sheet home the canvas. I know you're not greenies. Now, hop to it.
Pardon me, Mr. Grange. I want to be sure the shipkeeper gets off safely.
Oh, very well, Captain. I'll go to my cabin. If I find anything about the culprit who hurled that belaying pin, I'll inform you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jowett, is Mr. Breckenridge safe in the catboat?
Aye, sir. They're casting off.
Don't worry about me, Captain. It's just a knock on the head. I'll be all right. Have a prosperous voyage.
Thank you, sir. Have that head tended to right away, mind you. Keep a weather eye open for any more of that sort of thing. Goodbye to you.
Goodbye, and good luck.
I wonder. Mr. Jewett, leave Mr. Wainwright. See that the sail is set and the men assume their duties. Send Wainwright after me.
Aye, sir.
Maybe I was wrong about Mr. Ezra Grange. I thought he was a fine young man. But anyone who could talk so heartlessly of shooting down a lad simply because he had run off to go to sea, it does put him in a cruel light. I wonder. And then that belaying pin. And that one-legged sailor, Dickon. I'm still not satisfied about him. Blow me down. I'm beginning to wonder how correct George was when he said this was going to be a mysterious voyage.
You called me captain?
Yes, Mr. Wainwright. It's all right. Drop the formality. There are no men around. George, who threw that belaying pin?
I'd give my right eye to know.
Mr. Breckenridge was hit just as he was about to tell that he'd seen this swab Altesti some time ago. Just when he was drawing the particulars, the pin hit him.
And no one was in sight?
No one aloft at the time, either.
Must have been thrown by someone with a good harpoon on.
You've hit it there, George. That puts me thinking. I thought this ship carried 33 of the finest men that ever trod wood over ocean. But it's plain to see there's those who require watching.
By the way, Roy, Second Mate Jowett reports that last night, just before we boarded the Paul Parrot, he and Dickon were on deck and saw two mysterious men running toward the forecastle. When they yelled at them, all they heard was a splash, as though someone jumped overboard. They searched the ship, but found no one. So he forgot about the incident until he reported it to me this morning.
So, apparently they both didn't jump overboard. Wainwright, there's somebody on this boat who's not supposed to be here.
But where? Jowett said he and Dickon searched the entire schooner, but they couldn't find anything out of the ordinary.
reel off. Ah!
Listen, George. Even old Dickens Parrot knows there's some funny business going on.
Give Lobby the harpoon.
Hey, quiet that bird or take him aft.
Wait a moment. What's in that whale oil cask that Parrot is perched on?
I believe it's empty.
Avast, mate. We'll soon find out.
Aye. You see, from here, one could easily throw that belaying pin and then drop back in the cask and close the lid.
Listen. Did you hear that?
Blow me down, I do. There's someone in that cask.
Off with the lid.
It's a stowaway, I'll wager. Look. He's bound and gagged.
Why, George, it's the lad. It's Johnny.
Stowaway. Blow me down.
So, they finally found Johnny in the whale oil cask. But who threw that belaying pin at the shipkeeper just when he was about to give some important information regarding Altesti? Can Altesti still be aboard? And is Sue's brother, Ezra Grange, the hard-hearted person he seems to be? Well, as old Dickon would say, blow me down, there'll be many a squall in store before the cruise of the Paul Parrot is ended. So be sure not to miss even one adventure in this exciting story of the sea. Your Paul Parrot announcer is Dave Ward.
Parrot shoes speak for themselves. Ship ahoy, you lubbers!
All aboard for the transcribed premiere production, The Cruise of the Paul Parrot, that thrilling adventure tale of the famous whaling days back in 1858. You will remember that Captain Roy Dalton and First Mate George Wainwright found young Johnny Robbins, the boy who helped them track down the rascal Altesti, and subsequently was carried off by the Spaniard, tied and gagged in an empty cask on the deck of the whaling ship Paul Parrot. The ship has now left the harbor of New Bedford and is well on its way to sea, as we find Captain Dalton and Wainwright releasing Johnny from the whale oil cask.
There, his arms are free.
I haven't tied his legs, Roy.
Gee.
What's the matter, lad? Are you hurt?
No, but I've been tied up in that cask for so long I'm aches all over.
Well, Johnny, how on earth did you get aboard the Paul Parrot?
I'm mighty glad to see you got free from that bill scum Altesti. But I want to know who tied you and stowed you in here.
It was that Spaniard that grabbed me and dragged me away on the docks last night, Captain Dalton. That's who it was, all right.
That lubber Altesti. I'll take care of him.
But listen, that means you got aboard this ship last night after all. Captain, do you think he's still aboard?
Then that ties in with the two men Jowett reported aboard last night. Johnny, do you know if Altesti left the ship last night?
No, sir, I don't. I just know he and the other man tied me up and put me in this cask and slammed down the lid.
We've got to find out. We can take no chances.
I'll have the men scour the ship to look for a stowaway, Captain.
No, George, you stay here. I want you around. I'll have one of the other officers do it. Let's see. Jowett, the second mate, is in charge of the men right now. Nicholson is at the helm. I'll call the third mate, Boscara. Mr. Boscara.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Organize searching parties and search the ship from Crow's Nest to Coal Locker. There may be a stowaway on board. Take about 10 men. The rest are needed to man the canvas and put the ship to order.
Aye, aye, Captain.
If that swab is aboard this ship, we'll see that he gets his just deserts. Now, that just about proves who threw that belaying pin at the shipkeeper. Now, Johnny, tell us what happened. When we captured Altesti on the docks, we had him at bay with our pistols, and then he suddenly grabbed you and held you in front of him so we couldn't shoot him. Then, holding you close to him, he backed around the wharf office and shot at us a few times. When he stopped shooting, we crawled around the office, and there was no sign of either of you.
Well, he fired a couple of shots at you and then pulled up a trapdoor in the dock planking. He shoved me down and jumped in after me.
Blow me down. I know of no trapdoor in the Grange and Sons docks.
There was a big cask over it. You couldn't see it. Well, it led down to the big timbers under the dock, and when we got there was another man waiting for us.
What did this other man look like, lad?
Well, he was the peg-leg man I was telling you about.
A peg leg? I'll be hornswoggled. That settles it. I've been suspecting all along that he's had something to do with it.
Who do you mean? Dickon?
Aye, Dickon, of course. Remember that first day when we heard his wooden leg thumping just after the shot was fired at us? And here he is reefed in with his dock rat Altesti.
Well, I don't think that was the wooden-leg man's name. I don't think it was Dickon.
Avast, no matter what Altesti called the lubber, it's bound to be Dickon. He's the only peg-mate seaman about.
I hate to think that of Dickon, Captain. Besides, he was aboard ship here last night.
You'll see which way the wind blows, George. That makes it even more suspicious. Just when did he come aboard? Well, go ahead, Johnny. Then what happened?
Well, the one-legged man had another boat tied up under the wharf, and we all got in that. Well, I didn't want to, but there wasn't much I could do.
That's all right, lad. You've been very brave.
Then, very quietly, they rowed out to your ship, the Parrot.
But why did they ship you along with them, Johnny?
This man you call Altesti thought I was your cabin boy. And he wanted me to tell him where Mr. Grange's cabin was.
At last. So that's it.
There you are, Captain. That's why Altesti's been sailing in our wake. He's after the same secret that's bringing Ezra Grange along on this cruise.
But what is the secret? It's as much mystery as before.
Well, when we got out here to the ship, they made me come aboard with them. They came aboard so quickly they got past the watchman. And then we stopped right here by these casks. This Altesti asked me again where Mr. Grange's cabin was, and if he was bunking in the captain's cabin. When I told him I didn't know, he got very mean. And then they said they'd go look for themselves. So they tied me up and put that gag around my mouth and put me in this big cask.
If I ever get my hands on that rat, I'll treat him like the worst vermin in the hold.
I don't know how long I was in that cask. It seemed like years and years.
No wonder your arms and legs hurt.
You've borne up well, son. You're a brave young man, and here's my hand on it.
Oh, thank you, Captain Dalton. And can I stay?
What are we going to do with the boy now, Captain?
Blow me down, I never thought of that. And you were supposed to go home to your folks in the country last night.
Yes, sir, I know.
You see? I told you I was right when I saw you last evening. I told you were doing very wrong and running away to sea against your parents' wishes. I told you anything could happen to a lad who was alone in a rough port like New Bedford, didn't I?
Yes, sir.
Now you see what you've stumbled into? Here you are sailing on a whaler that may not see New Bedford again for more than 2 years. And the offshore wind is so high we're almost out of sight of land. We can't turn about and take you into port.
Well, couldn't I go along as your cabin boy or something?
Son, if you wanted to go to sea, you surely hit into the wrong line. Whaling is about the hardest, cruelest life there is on the sea. You'll have to work your heart out. There'll be weary days of watching for a whale. Then the dangers of catching one when he's sighted. And you never can say when the whale is apt to turn and stave in the ship and lose all. And then there's the job of cutting in, with little sleep and hard work. And nastier, smellier work can hardly be imagined.
Oh, but I won't care. I've always wanted to go to sea, Captain. And I'll work as hard as anybody else. Honest, I really will.
I see you're not to be discouraged. But see here, you've no sea chest. You've no outfit at all. Every man on board the ship has a chest filled with clothes and all the articles he needs for his cruise. And you haven't so much as a sou'wester to break the storm.
Captain, we've got a pretty big slop chest. We can let him draw on that. There's bound to be some overcoats and blankets and whatnot in there. And since we have no cabin boy, he'll fill that nicely.
Oh, gee, thanks, Mr. Wainwright.
Well, it looks as if you have a friend in Mr. Wainwright. I suppose the best thing to do, then, is to fix up with what we can from the slop chest and take it out of your share of the voyage. This is the first time I've ever heard of a ship having to take a cabin boy against their own wishes. It's a good thing you come from seafaring folk. You'll learn quickly.
But, Captain, what is a slop chest?
Why, that's just a name, lad. No chest at all. All of the extra clothing, shirts, blankets, overcoats, shoes, tobacco, and the like, that we carry along and sell to the men as they need them. All of that we call the slop chest. It's something like a store, you might say. And the men pay for them out of their shares of the profits of the voyage.
And you see, Johnny, the better a man is outfitted at the beginning, the less he'll have to call on the slop chest for his needs. And he'll get that much more at the end of his cruise for his share.
Oh, gee. I don't care if I get any share at all. Just to go to sea is enough for me.
Well, now, maybe we're ahead of schedule here somewhat and counting on making you cabin boy. I'd better confer with Mr. Grange. After all, he's one of the owners. And as long as he's aboard with us this cruise, we can see him right away.
We'll have to be sending a letter to his folks, Captain, by the first returning ship we meet, to let him know what's become of him.
Aye, we'll have to do that, or his parents will think he's been shanghaied. We'll have a wild story to tell them as it is. Johnny, lad, I know your legs are sore and stiff from being cooped up in that cask so long. Do you think you can walk on him below to Mr. Grange's cabin?
Oh, yes, sir. I'm all right now.
Then come ahead.
I'll return to the men, Captain.
Aye, Mr. Wainwright. Hold a minute. Send Dickon below to see me in Mr. Grange's cabin. We might as well straighten this out for good and all.
Aye, aye, sir.
Here's the hatch, Johnny. Now we go below. Right here's the cabin.
Who's there?
Captain Dalton, sir.
Oh, come in.
This is the boy I was telling you about, sir.
Oh, the boy on the deck? Well, how in the thunder did he get on board ship?
It seems that Altesti managed to get aboard last night, in spite of all precautions. And finding after he'd boarded the ship that the lad didn't belong on her, so he stowed him away in an empty cask, all bound up.
Is this Altesti person still on board?
I'm having the ship thoroughly searched right now. And there's a hand in the crew I'm suspicious of. I'm having him sent here below.
Well, this is interesting.
And seeing that we're out of sight of land, it's not worthwhile putting about. I wondered why we couldn't send word to the lad's parents by the first ship we hail and put him on as cabin boy. We have none, you know, and he might come in real handy as a help to the steward.
Does he have an outfit?
We can outfit him from the slop chest and take the cost out of his share at the end of the voyage, if you're willing, sir.
That sounds reasonable. We could use a cabin boy.
Ain't dirty weather against me, Hardy.
Hold. Just a moment, Mr. Grange. Here comes the hand I suspect of being in league with that swab Battle Testy.
Come in.
Begging your pardon, sirs. You sent for me, Captain?
Here he is, Johnny. Is that the lubber that helped bang you up last night?
No, he's not the one. The one that was with Altesti was real dark, like a Spaniard, just like Altesti himself.
Well, blow me down. I'm wrong about Dickon. I'm sorry, Dickon. I suspected you wrongly of something you didn't know anything about. But blasted, I'm glad to hear that you're not the one I thought. I always thought you were a good hand and a bloomin' fine man.
Why, thank you, sir, thank you. Captain, shiver me timbers. I know what you're talking to. There was a couple of strangers aboard last night, and one of them had a peg leg. I seen him. And you thought it was me.
That's right, Dickon, but I see I was wrong. The other swab must have jumped overboard when he was discovered.
Well, that's all settled. Now about this boy. You look rather intelligent, young man. What's your name?
Jonathan Obadiah Robbins, sir.
What? Repeat that name.
Jonathan Obadiah Robbins, sir.
It's quite a lot of name for so small a hand, I think.
It's out of the question. We'll hail the first ship we meet and send him back to port.
What? Send the lad back to port because of his name? We can call him Johnny, Mr. Grange. What difference does the length of his name make? That surely has nothing to do with whether or not he'd make a good hand.
That has nothing to do with it. We send him back by the first boat.
As captain of this craft, I feel that I'm entitled to ask why you don't want the boy.
As part owner of this ship and as your employer, I tell you it's none of your business. Now, don't let me see that little monkey again.
Mr. Grange, I feel that it is my right to ask and to know... Avast! What's that noise?
Oh, sirs, when Paul Parrot says that, that means there's a lubber in this room that don't belong here. Remember this morning he led us to the lad?
He's sitting on that sea chest of Mr. Grange's.
By George, that noise is coming from my sea chest, all right. Here, let's see.
Well, lash me to a yardarm.
What in the...
No.
It's little Miss Grange.
Sue, what are you doing here?
I told you I'd go on this cruise, Ezra, no matter what happened, and here I am, even if I have to stow away in your sea chest.
Stowaway, stowaway. Women on the ship means bad luck, lads.
Well, this is a surprise. Now Sue is along on the cruise. Will her brother Ezra let her stay? We're glad to find out that Dickon is no longer under suspicion, but is Altesti still on deck? And what will become of Johnny? Why does Ezra Grange dislike him just because his name is Jonathan Obadiah Robbins? We may find out some of the answers to all this mystery in our next adventure in the cruise of the Paul Parrot. Be sure not to miss even one of these exciting adventures. Your Paul Parrot announcer is Dave Ward.
Paul Parrot shoes speak for themselves. Ship ahoy, you lubbers!
All aboard for the transcribed premiere production, The Cruise of the Paul Parrot, that thrilling, exciting story of the sea. In our last adventure, we left Captain Dalton, Dickon, and his Paul Parrot, and Johnny Robbins in Mr. Grange's cabin. Ezra Grange has just insisted that Johnny, who was left by Altesti in a cask on board the Paul Parrot, be sent home on the first returning ship they meet, simply because he apparently doesn't like the boy's name. Immediately afterward, Grange discovered his own sister, Sue, stowed away in his sea chest. It is now just a few moments later, and Grange is furiously addressing his sister.
Sue, you are without question of doubt the most headstrong little girl I've ever known. You deliberately disobeyed your parents' wishes and mine.
Well, I never have gotten what I wanted. I knew the only way I could go on one of these cruises was to go by myself. You'd never take me.
This means simply that you will have to go back home on the first boat we meet, just like the boy.
Avast, Mr. Grange. You can't send the girl back on a strange craft all by herself.
Mr. Dalton, this is my ship, and I'm perfectly capable of taking charge of my own affairs. And I'll thank you not to meddle in them.
Blow me down. Mr. Grange, I'll have you know I'm master of this ship, and who sails on her is my business.
Why this talk of sending the lad back to port? Because you don't like his long first name is a lot of nonsense.
His first name doesn't have anything to do with it. I won't have anyone on my ship named Robbins.
And why not?
None of your business.
Well, there is evidently something about this cruise other than whaling. I wish you would explain it all to me before I signed on as skipper of this craft. But you're the owner, and I suppose you know what you're doing.
Now you're acting sensible, Captain Dalton.
Well, we'll send them back as soon as we hail a ship. But where do you want the lad to bunk in the meantime?
But I don't think you should send either one of us back.
Now, you stay out of this. Keep the boy in your cabin, Captain Dalton. I'll take care of my sister. Dickon, what are you standing there gaping at me for? Take that parrot and get on deck.
Aye, aye, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
Come along, Johnny lad. We'll go on deck.
Oh, Captain Dalton, I'm sorry to cause all the trouble, but I do wish Mr. Grange would let me stay.
Well, lad, it may be all for the best. But batten down my hatch. I don't understand what he has against your name.
Careful, sir. I'll raise the hatch. Blow me down, sir. I'm bloomin' sorry the young'uns can't stay aboard. I'd like the chance to teach 'em the ropes.
And I'd sure like to have you teach me, Mr. Dickon.
Stow that, mister. Stop.
The parrot's right, lad. I'm just plain old Dickon.
Well, then, Dickon, maybe you'll at least tell me a few yarns before I have to go back to New Bedford.
Oh, that I will, my lad, and you can lay to that.
There's Mr. Wainwright. We'll see what luck he's had in scouring the ship for a stowaway. Ahoy there, Mr. Wainwright.
Aye, aye, sir. Right there.
I feel sorry for that little girl, too. She wants to go along as badly as I do.
Well, lad, Sue's like all the Granges. When she wants a thing, she goes after it. Even if it comes to stowing away in her brother's sea chest. I admire her spirit, but I don't know what to think of Mr. Grange. It strikes me he's a peculiar hard man, wanting to ship two young'uns back all by themselves on board a strange ship.
Alas, Captain, we've searched the ship from stem to stern, and there's not so much as a footprint to tell us of any stowaway. I'm blowed if I know where anybody could be stown away.
It looks like dirty weather ahead to me, Mr. Wainwright. I've some news for you. Mr. Grange has just found his little sister, Sue, stowed away in a sea chest.
I'll be hornswoggled. She's a game little one, you can lay to that.
That's not all. Mr. Grange insists that both she and the lad be shipped back to New Bedford by the first craft we meet.
Johnny be shipped back? Well, now, that's a bloomin' shame.
The funny part of it all is Mr. Grange won't have Johnny aboard because his last name is Robbins.
Hold, there's more in that than meets the eye. There's some reason for that.
I wish little Sue and I could have stayed aboard. We'd have had lots of fun, I bet.
Strike me sails. I think the lad's liking the little girl.
Oh, no. That's not it. It's just, well, she just seems to have a lot of courage and everything. I think she'd be almost as much fun as another boy.
You can't fool me. There's a trim schooner in the offing.
Old Paul Parrot thinks she's a trim schooner, Johnny lad, and that you've taken a liking to her. And he's a hard one to fool, matey.
Oh, I wish I hadn't said anything. I just meant we'd have a lot of fun learning. Oh, gee.
I understand, lad. Well, it's too bad things had to turn out this way. But the winds may change, you never can tell. Meanwhile, Johnny, I'll get all the outfit and clothes you need from the slop chest. And you can bunk in my cabin till we meet a ship. We may hail one before the day's over.
I don't like that, Mr. Grange. I think he's awful mean to his sister, not letting her have anything she wants. They're down in his cabin alone now. I wonder what he's saying to her. I bet he's scolding her terribly.
But I told you you couldn't go along, Sue, and I meant it. You'll simply have to learn your lesson. You must go back on the first ship we meet.
Well, Ezra, Father'll be a lot angrier with you for sending me back alone than he will with me for running away.
What do you mean?
Just as Captain Dalton said. It's dangerous to send us back with no friends on a strange ship. I'd be a lot safer on board the Paul Parrot with you to watch out for me.
Confound it, Sue. A whaler is no place for you.
Why not, Ezra? I won't get in anybody's way. And think of all the fun I'll have. Wow, I'll learn a lot of things about foreign countries and things that I never could find out just by going to school at home.
But there's too much danger in whaling.
That's just why y'all let me stay. Just think, if one of the men gets hurt, why, I could take care of him. And you know how I nursed you last winter when you were so sick.
Well, that's true. Do you think you could help us that way?
Of course I could. And lots of skippers take their wives along on their cruises. Now, why couldn't you take your sister?
Sue, you're a true Grange. What you want, you'll stay after until you get.
Then, can I stay?
Well, if you promise to stay out of mischief and always remain here below in bad weather, or when the men are busy on deck cutting in a whale or trying it for oil, You keep out of the way, I'll let you stay.
Oh, Ezra, you're a darling.
Here, don't hug me so hard. You'll ruin my cravat. Dash it, Sue, I've had to give in to you, and that's more than I do for any man that works for me.
Oh, you're sweet, Ezra. I knew you'd understand if you'd just give me a chance to explain. Ezra.
Now what?
Can't you let the little boy stay, too?
Now, look here. If you think you're going to get me to consent to that, too, you'd better change your mind in a hurry, young lady. That's none of your affair.
But you really need a cabin boy, and this little boy looks very smart to me.
Well, we could use a cabin boy, but not that boy. I won't have anybody on board my ship named Jonathan Robbins.
That sounds like a very nice name to me. Johnny Robbins.
You don't know anything about this.
But his name can't make that much difference. Why, if he'd be a good hand, well, no kind of a name could really matter, Ezra.
Wait a minute.
What's that paper?
Mind your manners, Suzanne. Oh. This is my business alone. Now, even though it is the same name, he might not be. And if he is, he might know something that would help me out instead of... We'll think it over, Sue.
Oh, Ezra, you are the darlingest brother any little girl ever had.
Oh, wait a minute. Don't climb all over me again. All that sweetness won't make up my mind for me. I make my own decisions. Just a minute, I put this back. Now, that all depends on whether, What's that?
Sounds like chopping.
It's coming from down under the cabin. On this side of the ship, deep in the hold, I'd say.
Maybe the cooper is fixing some cast down there.
Well, he wouldn't be doing that at this stage of the voyage. Sue, you run up and tell Captain Dalton to come below immediately.
Do you think he might know what it is?
I want him to listen. He may be able to find out. Then I want to tell him about you staying, and then we can settle the matter of keeping this Robbins boy.
Oh, good. You will let him stay, won't you?
Now run on deck, will you? Fetch the captain and stop asking questions.
Right away, sir. Captain Dalton. Oh, Captain Dalton.
Aye. Who hails me?
Here I am, over here by the hat. Wait for me.
It's little Miss Grange, and she looks excited, sir. Shiver me timbers.
Heavy seas to starboard, mates. Reef in the top gallant sails.
Stow that chatter, Paul. Stow it. Something's in the wind.
Blow me down, Miss Sue. Has something happened?
Captain Dalton, my brother wants to see you in his cabin right away.
Maybe he's taken it into his head to let the skipper know what's going on aboard his own craft.
Oh, Captain, he's going to let me stay aboard.
He is?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm glad of that.
Blow me down, Captain. You were right when you said the little lady was the sort that always got what she wanted.
And I think he may let the little boy stay, too.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Lash me to a yardarm. But this little one certainly knows how to fix things. And that's why he wanted me below, eh?
Well, not only that, but there's a strange noise down in the hold under our cabin, like somebody chopping wood.
Blow me down. That will call for looking into. Stand by with a few hands, Mr. Wainwright, to search the hold when I get back on deck for Mr. Grange's cabin. I'll be right back.
Aye, aye, sir. I'll fetch them now.
You made him let me stay, Miss Grange. I think that's just too good to be true. I don't know just how to thank you.
Oh, that's all right, Johnny. And you mustn't call me Miss Grange. All my friends call me Sue, and we're going to be friends, aren't we, Johnny?
Gee, I hope so, Sue.
My hat's off to you, miss. You can do more with a gentleman than the captain himself. Sink me, but I think you ought to be a lady, skipper.
Smooth sailing ahead, me hearty. Smooth sailing.
I wonder what that noise in the hold is. Maybe I'll test he managed to stay aboard after all.
If he did, he's giving himself away this time. They'll find what he's stowed away now, and you can lay to that. Well, I must be getting off. So long, me hearties. So long. Good luck to you.
See you later, Dickon. But, Sue, how did you ever get Mr. Grange to let me stay aboard?
Well, really, I didn't have anything to do with that. He just changed his mind all of a sudden, that's all.
Why, I wonder?
Well, we were talking about you, and then he took out a big paper out of his waistcoat pocket and unfolded it, and looked at it, and talked to himself for a minute. And then he said he'd see about letting you stay.
But what kind of a paper was it?
Ooh, it was sort of funny. It looked real old and like some kind of a map.
A map?
Yes, and the funniest part of it all was this. He wouldn't let me look at it. He said it was none of my affair. But I couldn't help seeing the one corner of it, and 2 names were written on there.
What were they?
Well, one was real scratchy, and I couldn't make it out from where I was standing, but the other one I saw plainly, and it was your name.
My name? On Mr. Grange's map?
Yes, isn't that strange? It was written very clearly, Jonathan Robbins, and after it was a harpoon and a fork with 3 prongs on it.
Why, Sue, that's the signature of my father.
Well, here's something new. What is Ezra Grange doing with a map with Johnny's father's name on it? I wonder if that's the reason Mr. Grange didn't want Johnny aboard at first. But then, why did he change his mind? And what could that chopping noise be down in the hold? Is Altesti doing it? And if he is, will he be caught? Now that we know Johnny and Sue are going on the cruise, we can see plenty of excitement ahead. So be sure not to miss even one of these exciting adventures on the cruise of the Paul Parrot. Your Paul Parrot announcer is Dave Ward.
Paul Parrot shoes speak for themselves. All aboard there, you lubbers!
All aboard for the transcribed premiere production, The Cruise of the Paul Parrot. This exciting, thrilling story of the sea and the adventurous days of whaling. Well, Johnny Robbins and Sue Grange are now definitely going to sail on this whaling cruise. But there is still plenty of mystery surrounding it. Sue's brother Ezra, the owner of the ship, changed his mind about letting Johnny come along after he looked at a map with Johnny's father's signature on it. Then, too, there's a peculiar chopping sound down in the hold. And Altesti may still be hiding aboard. In our last adventure, Captain Dalton and his mate, George Wainwright, went down in the hold to find where the chopping sound came from. And today we'll hear what they discovered. It is now the next morning. The captain is talking to his crew.
Most of you have shipped on whalers before. And those who haven't are wise enough and brave enough to learn the ropes after a few days' run. From now on, we set our course direct for the whaling grounds off South America. We should raise our first whale in about a month. In that time, we'll have daily drills in manning the whale boats and practice with the irons and lance to make you good whalemen all. But this I want you to understand, men. Aboard the Paul Parrot, you'll be treated as you would aboard a merchantman. There'll be no slave driving by me or my officers, and each one of you will be expected to work his hardest. You're all set on your honor and your reputation as first-class seamen, and we know you'll work with us accordingly. This is to be a fairly short cruise, not lasting over a year and a half. And if we work as well together as we can, we'll cut in so many whales and stow so many casks of oil below that we can laugh at all the old whalers who think that whalemen have to be driven with a belaying pin and a rope's end.
Well said, Roy. With you to a man after that bit of wind.
Gee, Captain, that was wonderful. Your men couldn't help liking you now.
Avast, Johnny, let's hope so. With the strange things going on aboard this bark, I'll need the men with me every knot of the way.
Good morning, Captain. Good morning, Mr. Wainwright. Hello, Johnny.
Good morning, Miss Sue.
Boy, our charming little passengers on deck.
And looking prettier than a spring morning in the South Sea.
Hello, Sue. Gee, you should have just heard the fine speech Captain Dalton gave his men.
Tell me, Captain, I never did find out if you discovered anything in the hold yesterday.
Blow me down, there was nary a trace of a stowaway. We searched every square inch of the hold, and there wasn't so much as a shipworm in the hull.
Did you hear the chopping sound, Captain?
I heard it when I was Mr. Grange's cabin. But the moment we went below, there wasn't a sound.
It looks funny to me, Captain.
It looks funny to all of us. But what are we to do about it? That's the question. Well, Johnny lad, you're now our cabin boy, remember? Dickon's not on duty now. He's off watch. Search him out and have him tell you whatever you want to know about anything aboard the Paul Parrot. Mr. Wainwright and I'll be getting busy with the men in trying to handle the whale boats.
Aye, aye, Captain. I'll find Dickon right away.
I'll come along, too, if you don't mind, Johnny.
Of course, I want you to, Sue. Let's look near the bows. We should find him near the forecastle.
Johnny, what do you think of that map my brother Ezra has with your father's name on it?
Well, I don't know what to think, Sue. You see, my father was a seaman for many years. He used to tell me all kinds of wonderful yarns. But something happened to him once. I don't know just what it was, that he said made him lose all faith in the life of a seaman, and he left the sea forever. That's why he settled on a farm inland from New Bedford. And that's why he never would let me go to sea. He said he didn't want me to suffer the same kind of disappointment he did. You know, I had to run away from home to go to sea, because Father wouldn't let me go willingly.
I could ask Brother Ezra about the name on that map, but, you see, he doesn't know I saw it.
Oh, no, Sue. Better not say anything about it to him.
Captain Dalton thinks there's a great deal of mystery about this cruise, doesn't he?
Do you blame him? Well, first there was this man Altesti doing all those strange things before we sailed. And then Mr. Grange acting so queerly about my name. And then that chopping in the hold. Oh, there's been lots of other things, too.
Johnny, let's you and me be partners.
Well, sure, Sue, but what do you mean?
Well, I like Captain Dalton. Let's try to find out what all this mystery's about.
You bet. All right, Sue. We'll try to find what lays behind it all.
Fine. Oh, look, Johnny. There's old Dickon sitting on the forehatch with his parrot.
Sure enough. Oh, Dickon!
Strike my jibs, it's the young'uns. Ahoy there! Come over and join an old seaman what's had nothing to do but listen to an empty-headed parrot speaking.
Speak for yourself, matey. Speak for yourself.
I like Paul Parrot. He sure can say a lot of words.
He's a clever bird, and you can lay to that. He's seen more of whaling and storms at sea than many a hand aboard this bark has.
We wanted to ask you something about whaling, Dickon. And then I wanted you to tell me what I'm supposed to do as cabin boy.
Well, lad, there's little you have to worry about but obeying orders. Take your orders from Captain Dalton and Mr. Wainwright and the other officers. And don't worry about the men. You're lucky in having the captain as your friend. Abide by what he says and you'll not go wrong. He's a fine man.
I think so too, Dickon.
He's hale and hearty and a seaman born, and the wind never blew what could blow the man down.
Stow the gaff, you lubber, stow it. Johnny, lad, do you know the parts of the ship? Ooh, the names of the sails and the ropes and the decks and the beams of the old?
My father taught me most of that, Dickon. Of course, I don't know so much about a whaler. My father always shipped on a merchantman.
Ooh, that's good, matey. Then there's much you've already learned. Now about whalers.
How many men are on a whaler, Dickon?
Well, the Paul Parrot's a good example of a first-class whaler as any. So just cast a look at her. There's the captain and 4 mates, each one of them in charge of a whaleboat. As you know, this ship carries 4 whaleboats.
Mm-hmm.
Our 4 mates, which are the only men on board to give you orders, are Mr. Wainwright first, Mr. Jowett second, Mr. Boscara third, and Mr. Nicholson fourth. And Mr. Nicholson is usually the helmsman, too. Then there are 4 boat steerers, too, 1 to each whaleboat. The boat steerers are the men who throw the harpoons.
Well, how can they steer the boats and throw the harpoons at the same time?
Avast that I'll come to that later. Then there's 16 hands, 4 for each belt, ordinary seamen, and 4 extra men who stay on the ship when all the rest of the crew is out chasing whales. Besides these, there's the cooper, who takes care of the casks we fill with oil, and also acts as the carpenter for the ship. Then there's the cook and the steward, his helper, who also acts as the ship's doctor. And then you as the cabin boy and me.
Give a lay to that, me hearties.
Shiver me timbers, I almost forgot our mascot here, Paul Parrot himself.
Tell us, Dickon, how do you catch a whale?
Well, Miss Sue, they keep a mate and a boat steerer at the foremast head at all times, and 2 seamen at the mainmast head to keep a lookout. When the whales are running close, they even kept up at night. Then when a whale is sighted, the lookout calls out,
There she blows! 4 points off the starboard bow! There she blows!
and that's just what they calls out. The swab took the very words right out of me mouth.
And then do they lower the boats?
That's right, lad. They lower away it is. They lower 1 boat for each whale, and as he's a big one, then they lower 2. The crew of 4 rows it, with the mate in the stern with the steering oar, and the boat steerer up in the bow holding the iron. That's what we calls the harpoons, irons.
Well, why do they call the harpooner the boat steerer if the mate steers?
Lay by a bit, monsieur. I'm coming to that. When they reach the whale, creeping up on him soft-like, so he don't notice, the boat steerer strikes him with the iron, and then the fun begins.
Gee, doesn't the whale try to get away?
That's just it, lad. The whale either sounds, that is, dives under, or strikes out straight away, or mills. That means goes around in circles. But no matter what he does, the whaleboat's got to hang on. When the strike is made, the mate and the boat steerer jump to change places. Then the boat steerer really steers, and he has a wearisome trick to keep the little craft on an even keel, while the mate stands in the bow at the lance and plays in the rope that's attached to the iron stuck into the whale.
Oh, my, that sounds exciting.
And finally, the bloomin' whale's bound to tire out. Sometimes he's towed the whaleboat miles and miles from the ship, and there's always a chance that he might turn on the boat and smash it to splinters with his big flukes.
I've heard that whales sometimes get as big as 50 feet or so.
Lad, I've seen him over 100. That's a lot of animal to get angry at you.
Gee, I should think so.
Well, mates, finally the whale tires out, barring no mishap, and comes to rest. Then the boat sneaks up on him again, and the mate shoves the lance in him and kills him.
Oh, my. That all sounds terribly dangerous.
Aye, it is that. Now do you see what you let yourselves in for, mates?
Johnny, promise me you won't try to go out and help them catch a whale.
Oh, I'm not afraid to.
Oh.
But I don't suppose I'll have to, unless they ask me. I'd like to learn.
Well, lad, it'll be some time before they trouble you with chasing whales, is my guess. But when you'll have to work is after the whaleboat tows the whale right up to the ship. Then they starts the cutting in. The blubber is boiled till all the oil's out of it, and put in the casks and sealed and cooled, and then sent below and stowed in the hold. In a few words, lad, that's whaling. But if it took a fleet of books, I couldn't begin to tell you...
Well, batten down my hat. Here's old Dickens playing nursemaid to a couple of bloomin' pups.
Who's that?
Blow me down. That's one hand on the screws that'll cause trouble. Red Mulhooley. And he's a mean, sneaking junk of bill scum, if I've ever seen one. Avast, he's coming this way.
Well, so here's the bloody kids this whaler's got to ship, huh? A pretty thing whalin's coming to when we gotta have a nursery aboard. And a pretty landlubber that sits in his cabin downstairs and calls himself an owner. What's he doing aboard? The bloomin' shark?
You can't talk that way about my brother.
Well, the little brig's carrying guns, eh? What do you mean, you little spitfire? I'll say what I want, and you'd better not be the one to try and stop me, or I'll
Wait
slit-
a minute. Don't talk to her like that.
What are you going to do about it, you little porpoise?
You bloomin' swab, why don't you lay off the young'uns? Willie, someone your size. Go
Hold
on.
your talk, Dick, and I'll bound a lantern off your tarp rail. And you're the captain's pet, eh? But you can't talk back to me.
I'm not the captain's pet. I'll show you.
Oh, kick me in the shins, will you? I'll teach you a lesson you'll never forget, you little imp. I'll take this rope in
Watch
and
out,
I'll wrap
Johnny.
it
Oh, Captain Dalton.
He'll bully the young'uns, will you? Take that!
Good. You were just in time,
And
Captain
there's
Dalton.
more in it for you if you try that again, you wharf rat. Come along, mates. He'll not bother you again.
You'll pay for that, you yellowback swab. They'll be looking for a new captain before the end of a fortnight. You can lay to that.
Here's more trouble ahead. Captain Dalton has made a dangerous enemy by striking red. Will this seaman carry out his threat to have revenge on the captain? And we still haven't solved the riddle of the map with Johnny's father's signature on it or the noise in the hold. We'll find out more about these things as we follow the adventures of Johnny and Sue with Captain Dalton and Dickon and all the rest of the crew on the cruise of the Paul Parrot. Your Paul Parrot announcer is Dave Ward.
Paul Parrot Jews speak for themselves. Ship ahoy, you lubbers!
All aboard for the transcribed premiere production, The Cruise of the Paul Parrot, that thrilling, exciting story of the sea. The mystery of Mr. Grange's map and the strange chopping sound in the hold have still not been solved. And now there's new trouble ahead, because in our last adventure, while old Dickon was spinning one of his whaling yarns to Johnny and Sue, a rough, red-headed seaman named Red Mulhooley started bullying Johnny. Captain Dalton came up just in time to prevent the seaman from striking the lad. With a mighty blow, the captain dropped him to the deck. Red, however, has vowed vengeance, and there is no doubt he will cause plenty of trouble. Now, as our story opens, it is night. Johnny, who is still bunking in the captain's cabin, has been awakened by that chopping sound. He gets up quietly and, without awakening Captain Dalton, steals outside.
That noise certainly sounded as though it were coming from out here somewhere. That's funny. I'm sure that scraping noise came from above. Now I can't hear it at all. I can't understand it. When you're below deck, it sounds like it's coming from above. And now from up here, it sounds as if it came from below. There, it stopped again. I wonder what it can be. Who's that, I wonder? Guess I shouldn't have come up here this late. I hope no one sees me on deck. Captain wouldn't like it, I know, if he knew I was here this late. I'll hide behind this cask in case it is someone. Now he won't see me, whoever it is. Say, that looks like Sue coming this way. What can she be doing up here? Sue!
Oh, who's that?
It's me, Johnny.
Oh, Johnny, how you frightened me. I thought it was that frightful Red Mulhooley. What are you doing here this late?
I was just going to ask you the same thing. Your brother'd be awful mad, I'll bet, if he knew we were up here.
Oh, Ezra was sound asleep when I left the cabin and snoring like a buzzsaw.
You want someone to hear us?
I forgot.
I came up here because I heard that scraping sound again. The sound that your brother, Mr. Grange, was talking about.
Where was it coming from?
Well, I don't know exactly. When I was in the cabin, it sounded as though it was coming from up here. But after I got up here, I heard it again, but it sounded like it was down below. I don't know what to think about it.
Oh, perhaps it's nothing. The sailors were looking for it, but they couldn't find anything either. So they decided it must be some kind of a worm that eats through wood on ships.
Well, this was no worm, I'll bet. It was too even-like. Just like someone was trying to dig through something.
Well, what do you think it could be, Johnny?
I sure wish I knew. Whatever it is, I'll bet that Altesti has something to do with it.
Altesti?
Yes, that mean Spaniard who tied me. and shoved me down that whale oil cask.
But I heard Captain Dalton say that Altesti must have gotten away in a boat. Why, they've searched from stem to stern and can find no trace of him anywhere.
Well, I'm not so sure. Still, you'd think if he was on board, the sailors would be able to find him.
Well, if I ever find him, I'd teach that bad man that he couldn't treat you like he did ashore the other day, and then stuffing you in that cask. Why, it's a wonder you weren't hurt.
Oh, that was nothing. He was just mad because I wouldn't tell him where the captain's cabin was, and your brother's cabin.
You were sure brave not to tell.
Oh, I wasn't brave. I just didn't know where the cabins were.
Well, just the same, if I ever lay my hands on that what is it Dickon calls him? That swab. I'll show him he can't treat a friend of mine like he did you.
Gee, Sue, you're wonderful. And thanks for getting Mr. Grange to let me stay on the ship. I'll never forget it. I like you better than any boy I ever knew. Well, I mean any boy or girl. Except that I never knew any girls before. Gee, all the girls I ever saw where I lived, well, they were all such fraidy cats, but gosh, you're as brave as Captain Dalton.
I like you too, Johnny. We should have lots of fun together. I'll bet we could get old Dickon to tell us a lot of yarns about whales and such, like the story he told us yesterday. He always tells me yarns when he's ashore. Once he told me how he lost his leg in a fight with a whale.
Gee, I'll bet that was exciting.
Oh, it was. And he said that one of these days he was going to meet that same old whale. And when he does...
Do you think he ever will? Let's say, we forgot what we came on deck for. I think we ought to... Wait a minute. Who's that coming this way? Quick, hide behind this oil cask.
Yes, hurry.
Shh. If he sees us, he'll take us to Captain Dalton for being up this time of night. Then he's likely to be mad about it.
Who is he? Can you see?
Yes. It's Red Mulhooley. It's that sailor who tried to bully me and Captain Dalton knocked him down.
And here comes another one down the deck. They must be on watch. Listen. Maybe we can hear what they're talking about.
Heave to, matey. I've something I'd like to talk to you about.
Aye, but I must get to my watch in a hurry.
Never mind the watch. This is much importanter.
That may be, but you're none too strong with Captain Dalton as it is.
Who cares about Captain Dalton?
He's a mighty man, and won't fear if he's crossed. He hove down your hulk without much difficulty today, and he'll do it again, you may lay to that.
Hold your tongue, sailor. Besides, he hit me when I wasn't looking.
You wasn't looking, eh? How come he hit you in the middle of the chin, spang him amidships? Did you have your eyes shut?
Now, listen, this is no time for a squall between us. Now, listen to me, sailor. I'm going to get even with the skipper, even if it's me last voyage, and you're going to help me.
Not me. You can boil me in blubber if I have any part of your dirty work.
You won't, eh? Well, suppose I told the captain that your name wasn't Jameson, huh? Suppose I told him you escaped from the New Bedford brig and that they're looking for you.
Yeah, maybe it is true. Maybe it is, but I never killed a man like you did.
Say, how did you know that?
Never mind how I know, but one false move and I'll open my hatch and your rigger will be in for a greasy voyage.
Why, you...
Go on, there'll be no more bullying me. You'd better steer a clear course or you'll be in irons. Else I don't know Captain Dalton.
The bill scum. How did he know I killed a man? Well, what of it? That wasn't the first. It won't be the last. Nobody can knock me down and get away with it. I'm going to get even if I have to pin him under a stanchion. I'll do it right now.
Gosh, Sue, what are we going to do? That man is going to try to kill the captain.
Well, Johnny, there's only one thing we can do. We've got to get to the captain's cabin.
We sure do. Shh, quiet now. And hurry before we're too late.
Hurry, John.
Who's that? Suzanne. Sue. Where is that girl? I'd swear I heard that scraping sound again. But now it's stopped. Found that chair. Now, where's that lamp? If I could only... Ah, there it is again. I'm going to get at the bottom of this thing right now. That lamp, where is it? Oh, well, perhaps I can grope my way to Captain Dalton's. These cabins are as black as pitch. Captain Dalton.
Who's there?
It's I, Ezra Grange.
Oh, come in. The door's open.
Captain Dalton, something must be done at once.
Avast, man. What's the commotion?
Captain Dalton, I'm not a coward. But that chopping sound is beginning to get on my nerves.
What? That same sound again?
Yes, I could hear it right below my cabin.
Perhaps your nerves are jumpy, sir. Your imagination is getting the best of you,
It's
sir.
not my imagination. I heard it distinctly.
But we've traced every foot of this ship. There's not a sign of anything out of the ordinary aboard the Pal Parrot.
Yeah, but listen to me. There is something that is causing that odd chopping noise, and I intend to find out once and for all just what it is.
Aye, sir, but what,
Besides, Sue is not in the cabin.
What?
She's disappeared.
Oh, that does call for looking into. Wait, I light the lamp. There.
And look, Johnny the boy. His bunk is empty also. Where is he?
Batten down my hatch. The lad's gone, too.
Yeah, somebody's taken the boy and my sister while we were asleep.
Now, perhaps not. We'll soon see.
And if anything happens to
Now,
Suzanne,
easy. If anything has happened, we've got to keep our wits about us.
Yes, I suppose you're right, Captain. But hurry, something must be done.
Aye, sir, that there does. And there will be something done, else my name isn't Roy Dalton.
I wouldn't have anything happen to my sister for all the treasures in the world.
Treasures? Did you say, sir?
Hurry, Captain Dalton. There may be no time to lose.
Right you are, sir. Little Miss Sue and the lad Johnny may be both in danger this very moment. But hold. I'll blow out this lamp so no one can see us leave the cabin. Some swab may be laying for us, and I'll walk into no trap. You can lay to that. Come along. But take it easy, sir, and we'll... Wait. Shh. Someone's coming down the hatchway. The hatch is open, and I can see a shadow against the moonlight.
Quickly, hide behind this door. Can you make out who it is?
I think so. It looks like the red-headed swab who was bullying the lad today.
Red Mulhooley?
Aye, so he is. And if he's up to some deviltry, he'll be put in chains.
Look, he's heading for your cabin.
Aye, then he is up to mischief, the Bill scum.
Look, Dalton. Someone's following him. I can see his shadow up by the hatch there.
Either that, or someone is helping the swab to do his deviltry.
Good Lord, it's Sue and the boy. What in the world are they doing?
They're trailing the bloomin' redhead, or I'm a weak-kneed lubber.
And evidently Red doesn't see them, for he's heading right into your cabin.
We've got to get in and grab him before those young'uns get down here, else one of them might get hurt. Come on. Quiet now. When I say the word, we'll rush the mutinous swab.
Man the boats, men, there's a bow at the starboard.
Drat that bird. I shouldn't have let Dickon leave him in my cabin. That will put the red-headed one on his guard.
We're on the reef.
Captain Dalton! Captain Dalton! Look out, there's a man in your cabin.
And he has a knife.
Rush him, Captain Dalton. Now's the time.
Take it easy now. He has a knife. And in the dark, someone's likely to be hurt. Let me handle the swab. Red? We know you're in that cabin. Drop that knife.
Who's gonna make me?
Mulhooley, you're a bad one, and I'm giving you fair warning. Drop that knife, because I'm coming in there after you.
And it'll give me a great pleasure to rip you from stem to stern.
All right, you asked for it. Stay here, Grange. I'm going to take the blasted worm.
Come on, I'll give it to you.
There, out, there. That's real. Come.
Capsize the hope, lads. Capsize them.
So, Red Mulhooley did try to make good his threat. Will Captain Dalton and Grange overpower him? And will Sue and Johnny escape unharmed? And the chopping sound from the hold or from wherever it's coming still remains a mystery. These and many other exciting events are soon to be unfolded in the further adventures aboard the Paul Parrot. Be sure not to miss even one of these thrilling adventures on the cruise of the Paul Parrot. Your Paul Parrot announcer is Dave Ward.